I know immersive media is growing so in a very big way. And yesterday we all talked about, a lot of people talked about the content part, because not only technology, it has to be also content, also has to be covered with that. So I'll just introduce my role, how I have designed this, and I just talk about a little bit about my institute, okay? Because we have started a program, master's program on immersive media design. This is the first time in India in terms of covering the whole thing. Let's see, I'll just explain you what it is. So, just to introduction to our institute, it's MIT Institute of Design. It's in Loni, Kanpur in Pune. It has a huge campus and it has other things also. And this has been started like last 12 years, and it comprises with other disciplines, various disciplines. In industrial design, there are various like product design, interior, you have transportation, product design, then you have in communication design, graphic design, animation, user experience, and lastly, last year we started this immersive media design. It's a 2 years program. Now when we come to the immersiveness, because we talk about how it is amalgam of the UX, how it is amalgam with the animation, also with the film and video, and of course the user-centric design. Because you have to understand the first user, you have to understand what is the psychology behind the behavior, and then you create the space. So if you see, the businesses make it viable and technology make it feasible, right? But how to use that technology, that's where the designer's role comes. And that is why we need many designers to do the creative work for this immersive media industry. So that's how we have actually programmed it. We have talked about a lot of design applications, like you talked about health sector, education, manufacturing, just now Nathan also talked about all that. We have talking about futuristic design, we talk about event, 3D, projection mapping, smart city, we're talking about car demo, or the in terms of war, in terms of defense simulation, but it also amalgam with the technology as well as the various other disciplines. So other disciplines like you have UX, you have principle of design, you have user study. We have just finished one semester, this is 2 years course. So I just very quickly show some of my students' work. It's not a project, but it's a classroom exploration and thing like that. But how we are doing it, you will get a gist of it. Okay, so we also talking about mapping, and we want to do it hands-on. And then they have to see the space, they have to create something on the space. Of course, the user is very important, so user methodology and all. Then we talk about data visualization. So we have both in terms of UI UX and the data visualization. Then we talk about, we have a lab which is, we got HTC Vive, Oculus Go, Leap Motion, where our students are exploring on those things. We also worked on sensors. So this very few, I'll give you example here. These are not a project but a classroom exploration. Let's see whether, one second, just have a video. They worked on Unity and Vuforia, exploring the different things. In terms of tangible computing, so she has worked on using the thermal sensor, how to, automatically gas can be off while it is for the boiling milk and all. I don't know anybody aware of Atari games, which is the first game which has been developed in NASA. One of my students has worked as a not only digital, but it's like including the physical interactivity. So the guys are playing it actually, and he used processing. He has used Arduino sensors. This is something interesting. You can see. Sorry.
So,
That's it. Thanks.
It's a time of 1980s, so there was one movie released which revolutionized the entire cinematic experience and made two powerful words very, very, very famous. One simple sentence was "Hasta la vista la baby" and "I'll be back." The movie is nothing related to anything of fantasy. The movie was Terminator, starred by Arnold Schwarzenegger, directed by the visionary director James Cameron. And today we are finding it real. This movie was all about integration of human and technology, and today we are finding the same human interaction with the machine through Sophia. Ladies and gentlemen, since the dawn of James Watt steam engine, brilliant idea of Henry Ford assembly line automobile, and with the advent of Intel, IBM, Apple, Microsoft, IT revolutionized the entire industry. Now we are in the phase of Industry Revolution 4.0. Be it artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics, data streaming, augmented reality, virtual reality, it is shaping the world today. Now, with this thought, we have elite and distinguished guests on the screen and table. So we will be discussing about one particular sector which is niche and untapped, that's called education. How this technology can bring effective difference not only to the teacher, not only to the management, and also to the entire society. So we got our introduction about all our elite guests. Now we'll be going the questions, and after that we'll be having a Q&A session for 15 minutes to my audience. The first question for the panel is we'll start with a macro level, and we'll end with a micro level of how you are implementing VR or AR technology in your respective institutes. The very first question is, how do you embrace technology in today's education world? Upasana.
So if you look at technology and education, across the years, technology, any innovation and any technology has always found its home in education, be it in the technology of printing of books or internet in our times. And with AR, VR and mixed reality and this dynamic field of technology which is kind of revolutionizing itself time and again with every day passing, it's actually redefining how we interact with information, how we consume information, and how we create information. And to a large extent, that is what education is all about, right? And therefore, there's a very fundamental footprint that this, this technology, or in fact, I would rather say that this is actually the new computing platform. This is actually as fundamental as, I guess, LCD screens were back in the day, which transformed how we looked at the world and experienced the world around us. This is the technology what is, most probably going to give rise to or possibly replace computers in a different way for us. And therefore, I guess the footprint in education is something which is huge. The potential of, this new computing platform is humongous. But of course, one thing is there that we are still at the nascent stage of trying to discover and learn what all are the possibilities, understanding the boundaries and how much that can be pushed. So the ubiquity of this platform is actually going to define how big the market or how big the uptake possibly is going to be in a space like education. Of course, the stats say it's $1 billion market, and of course, all those stats have been shared by lots of industry experts before. One thing I do feel is the fact that we do definitely have a very promising future in education, especially because if we look at the trends in learning and education, which way we are trying to move, this augments the way we deliver education. So therefore, personalized learning, trying to work towards more experiential learning are things that are becoming important touch points and key points when we are delivering content to people who want to experience the knowledge. And therefore, I see a huge footprint of its integration in education.
Steve Jobs always says, there should be a marriage between creativity and technology which can enhance consumer experience. Madam, how do you foresee that technology can bring effective change in education system when you talk about millennials? Because the way I learned my education from my teachers is far more better than what the students are learning today. But considering the millennials, especially millennial, how technology can reshape them?
Okay, so I don't know whether I'm audible, but I'd like to take a moment today, just like you said yesterday. It's a very proud day for us when our wing commander came home. So, Jai Hind to that. Well, the question that you are putting up to me, I want to have very, very simplistic definition of technology. Technology is an enabler and it's a creator. But what we do with it is we communicate. So we communicate as educators, we communicate as solution providers, we communicate as entertainers, and that's something that always remains. The opportunity that technology gives is what we are trying to talk about in the last 1.5 days. So if you talked about Industry 4.0, and I wanted to take you to Education 4.0. So it talks about accessibility, it talks about customization, it talks about free content, and it talks about delivering your own self in the manner that you want. So today's technology, when we are talking about immersive, actually lends itself to that. So initially when we are looking at internet, as she said, it was not engaging, it was there for us to consume. Yeah? But now the word is immersive. And that is, in my opinion, going to actually open the banks of education. And if we can then work around it to see what pedagogies we can use and not look at taking the pedagogies that we were doing with sit-in education technologies to immersive technologies, and that would be blasphemy. I mean, we need to work on different ways that we can engage, and I think Nathan pointed out some great work done in collaborative spaces, and that's what the new product is going to be, the student is going to be. So I think that's that's pedagogy. When we're talking about technology, it's also a barrier for learning. We are also getting a lot of distraction, it's also a lot of non-engaging time that is happening, and how do we as creators of education work around this to facilitate that this immersive technology that is here to stay, whether it's augmented or it's VR or it's mixed, can actually take all these, deterrent points into positive aspects. So that's one, the second aspect that I wanted to talk about. The third one is what you said, that the students are learning better than what I did, right? I would say yes and no, in both ways. When I started and founded NMIM School of Design, a lot of my colleagues and peers said, I would love to be in this program as a student. Okay, so that's great. There are a lot of opportunities, but there are a lot of pressures for them to deliver as well. What is missing and what we have to quickly connect is the foundation of education. So there is something that is fundamental to education. in design as well, which is what we need to work on, and then the layers of technology just works in. So when you and me probably graduated from great schools in design, it still lent ourselves to what we are after what, 2.5 decades of being in the industry space. So I'm sure what they did was right. We need to take that as a fundamental and build on these layers and ensure that technology is an enabler, is an opportunity, but it's not bend all and be all. So somewhere we have to do the balancing act, and that's, I think, what the work will be. Like Eddie and his team has put up this great conference in the next 2 days, and that will now take us back to saying, what are the little pieces that we all have to bring to the day gets to 6.2 billion, what my stat says, but his stat says some $700 million. So to get there, we all need to work out these meals. That's my 2 bit.
So you would say rather like, technology is a doorway for a source of information.
Yes.
It should be enable us to understand more.
Yes.
Professor, as an academician, so what according to you think AR, VR, people are very much excited about now? Why people are so much of excited now? Especially in education.
Yeah. Is it audible? No, I think, see, accessibility is one. Definitely, as the technology is advancing, it getting cheaper, as well as it also making it more like processing speed, as well as the headset has some limitations. So those are going to advance, and it will be definitely one day also it will become more smoother. Like you have mobile has become like a part of life. After few years, maybe mobile will going to vanish. We'll have something else. And then headset might be more. It become more. People can use day-to-day life kind of thing. But yeah, of course, as ma'am was saying, we have to also consider the part key. It's not every time technology, right? We have, as we understand the education, it become more personalized. It become like you can communicate from far away and learn things, but still you can't just blindly take on the technology. We have to understand our own senses, how these senses, we have 5 senses, 7 senses we have, which has to be accommodated inside this immersiveness, and the immersiveness is a more important thing. That's how the education should be. So now we are going closer to the immersiveness, but of course there are so many barriers, and I'm sure things will work out. And as the education, the whole pedagogy also going to change.
When we consider like human-centric innovation,
Right.
Incremental innovation and disruptive innovations are the 2 major parts which is a revolution of the entire world.
Right.
So incremental means it goes step by step, disruptive is at a stretch one go. Madam, like how virtual reality will impact education as of now on 2019? Because when you see this, virtual reality is not a new thing. In fact, when you go back to the history of Napoleon, so he has sketched one beautiful war picture in the form of a 360 degree. I'm talking about 18th century. Now when we talk about as in 1965, Ivan Sutherland is the one who majorly break through the entire masterpiece within Edmond. But when we talk about 2019, the revolution started with Facebook, bringing out the Facebook of concept of virtual reality or 360 degree streaming video and photos live. But considering the effect of technology into different spaces, how VR is going to impact deeply on education. So Madam has spoke about on the student wise, but on institution wise, as a sector, how it will affect VR and AR.
So I think, just to be able to I'll actually pull myself back to the institutions that we all come from. We come from an institution where we are in the business of creation. Okay, I think I can speak for all 3 of us that we are in the business of creation. So for us specifically, this particular technology is not only where we play a triad of a role almost, where we are creators of content, we are users of this technology, and we are consumers of the content that we are creating, right? And therefore, even lending from what he was saying about, when you said that what is the most exciting bit about VR. So I'll come back to your question on the education bit, but what is the most exciting bit about VR at this point is the fact, especially from a team of creators, if you say, it's about being able to put your visualization out there in such a way that you can actually create. This is what internet did for us back in the day, which was access. I could transport myself from here to being at a different part of the world, trying to know something completely different about which I possibly, sitting in the comforts of my home, couldn't learn about. Now we have taken it to the next level where we are talking about we can practically experience it. That is the jump that VR has actually created for, and the excitement that the creators face in trying to be able to transport you and make you real, in your real life experience a setting, experience a context, and see what I want to communicate in the way that I want to communicate, which is a lot less passive than it used to be in the yesteryears. So as educators and as an institution, when we are trying to impart, or engage, I would say, engage with this technology, in today's day and age, I would possibly talk more not in the sense of what is exciting for us. The promise that it has is very, very exciting for us. But the three things that come with it, the fact that we need content for mass consumption, we need access to hardware and software which acts as a barrier, honestly, at this point. I mean, it is getting cheaper, but it's still very, very difficult. And the awareness part of it. Those are the three key things that is actually driving the unity of AR, VR, mixed realities as technologies to be adopted in the, in the education space. And what excites us most is to be able to create these kind of platforms, start with the socializing and the awareness of the reach and the boundaries that we can push with this kind of a technology and this kind of a platform, I would say. So for an institution in 2019, that is what I'm, kind of toying around with. I am at a very nascent stage toying around with these different technologies that are coming in as enablers for me to communicate, for me to teach, give my own students an immersive learning when it comes to it. But the role that I play is almost creating that immersive, like my students actually create that immersive learning for a lot of others to kind of consume, right? So for me, one of the first important things is to be able to crack that ability to envision what the real result can be. So yeah, that is what is, I think, most exciting to me at an institutional level.
Ma'am, let me continue where she has stopped. If you continue, this content is a major challenge for us. But when you say target audience for VR and AR, so we have some different stream in education, right? From class 1 to class 10, plus 2, plus 3, plus 2. So it goes way. Take 5 years of MBBS and different things. Now when you see AR and VR, specifically AR and VR, who do you think the biggest audience will be at present?
Well, with what the stats I can see and the developments as of now, I think AR will actually capture the impact much faster if we all work in that domain area. Primarily because it requires fewer devices. It could be done on your cell phone, on your tab, on your computer, and it can be anywhere. Okay? And it is, from a user-centric designer point of view, it is simpler than VR to attempt and to capture impact. So when we're talking about education, it's always about learning outcome. I mean, we can dispense education, it's not a problem. But you dispense medicine, but you need to get better with it. So those two aspects have to be considered here. So I thought maybe that's a step when you said that you climb the ladder and you iterate into something. Maybe AR might be a simpler way for us, or an easier step to take. Having said that, while she was talking, what I could look at is a what-if scenario. So most of the students really come to college at least 50% of the time because they have to go there. What if education was what they wanted to do? Okay? And And that's the primary difference. I think the primary outcome that we can get from Education 4.0 is, what do you want to do? Do you get a student to evolve? So yes, from the 9th standard, which is senior school, to junior college and to the bachelor's, that's the undergrad program in India, do we get them to think, fail, so there are pedagogies to learn, and one of the pedagogy is that you fail and learn. You are designed to fail so that you learn. And if that's the kind of pedagogy that we allow our students to do, the kind of metamorphosis and the kind of growth and evolution our education would have is phenomenal. And with that, AR and VR will work. So you do not have to be in locations. Okay, you do not have to be in Bombay. You can be in any space, and smaller town people get the opportunities to actually experience education. Right? What I also think is learning. There are 4 kinds of learners, right? So there are visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic, and either they have the writing or reading preference. VR actually enables the first 3. So it's a huge opportunity. Okay? So it's a huge opportunity to do experiential learning, and that you can engage 85% of the learner that we have now. So that's an opportunity. But content has always been a deterrent factor. They're working in the education technology and content for some time. If you know, we had smart classes happening, and companies really rolled into them. But what really happened is the curricula keeps changing, and the content keeps changing, and that content is very expensive and not economically viable to keep upgrading. And we heard some people talk yesterday about it. So it's the 90% and the 10% that people were talking. And if you find the sweet tooth enabler for that, and how do we build content, and we actually do not work straight off as producing VR content, but create platforms that move the content from AR, VR with interactivity, with cognitive abilities, then I see it taking off as disruptive education. Otherwise, we will go slowly. It will take some time before we get there.
Professor, what would be the other areas of VR which can be used in education? Like VR as a branding tool. VR as a branding tool.
So, as a VR, if you talk about anything immersive in terms of VR or AR, it has you can create a brand communication, which is already happening. People are actually, even I'm talking in terms of India, now the biggest advantage with VR or AR is there's no language barrier. You can go beyond the language barrier, and to communicate even the rural sector or to any brand education, I think VR can be more apt. But how to use that is a very important part, because still people only think it's like a technology. But if you think much beyond and take it as even the simple, menstruation cycle is a very taboo and all. There are a lot of myths which can be very secret, but they want to learn about it, and those can be created easily with I'm sure with the VR and all. Why not? We must think all that. So I'm sure this has a lot of potential, but we as like a platform, I'm quite thankful AD has created this platform, that I think we should have a standpoint how to proceed. Because if it is just heterogeneously we just do something and just gather something, then things will not go beyond. And what she was mentioning, that it has a lot of opportunity, and those opportunities can be missed. Right?
We'll wind up with one micro questions. What is the biggest challenge for VR in today, especially education? What will be the biggest challenge?
I would say content for mass learning and adaptability, like she said, that we need to be able to not just VR. I would extend it to AR, VR, and AVR. I think that's where we are moving. We are talking about augmented virtual reality now, and that's where we also see most of its applications, you know, in education fields like whether healthcare or its training and simulation. I genuinely feel that if, you know, if we are able to, like he also mentioned and she mentioned, that able to create platforms where we can make our, you know, where we can make the required changes, that is, you know, that I put, and content can be created which is available for mass learning. That is one of the biggest barriers that I think. So there's skill, of course, and then there is content.
Madam, what do you think about it?
Well, I agree with whatever has been said, and the only footnote I'd like to add that technology is often used as a gimmick for branding, for education, for everything. Yeah, but if we hold ourselves to that and don't make it as a USP of our solution, but the essence of our solution, I think if we can get a warrior like Abhinandan, we have warriors all over the place. The talent pool that we have in India is immense. If we get to being just real, they are all Wi-Fi enabled. So with that said, you can also see the leaning of our school, that the NMIB School of Design actually is tech, design, science, and science, sociology, sorry. So, and business, sorry, I forgot that. So if we are going to set up these, the university is very forward to take this into what they call as employable programs. Okay. Now let me ask you, answer your next question. I think that has been answered by Nathan very nicely, you know, because all these technology are not silos. So whether it's AI, whether it's data analytics, whether it's AR, VR, and IoT that is connected, they all work with each other. And actually speaking, IoT also can be connected with a VR experience with a layer of AI, right? And it is definitely possible to do that. And mobile learning first is happening. I think there is, what I know is I think IIT Guwahati has rolled out a solution for Anganwadi people or something like that with just 3DOF. I mean, the virtual reality, but just 3 degrees of freedom, but it's a start. So they cannot be seen as isolations. Actually, they are all together. And they all require certain new skill sets that we have to build. And that's our march forward.
Now, last question to wind up this session before we take up Q&A. So, what is your expectation from industry? So far you talked about from yourself, from your experience, from your institute. Now what is your expectation from the industry for AR and VR?
Can I begin?
Yeah, please.
I don't consider myself away from industry. I've been in the industry for 25 plus years before I started the school, so they are one of me. What I'm really looking at as a school, what we're looking at is not collaborating only on projects, but on research that we are doing at our school, and NMIB itself as a university does that, and that's what we are looking to do. So quickly up the game. Okay, what I believe is in design, education has always been behind industry. Okay, time has come when we start working together, and in another 5 years we have to leap ahead. If you see a typical pharmacy or life sciences school, they will have patents and IPRs that the companies take over. But vice versa doesn't happen in design. And it's time that we quickly come together, and whatever it needs to come together and leap forward so that we can actually give the future scoping research for industry to take over, and that would be a dream come true for design.
That means that you expect corporate to have their own educational system, like an educational institutes, colleges, universities?
Yes, we should partner, always. So some of our schools in our university, especially the business school, is doing a lot with industry, where they are teaching training. So we also have some engagements that are coming to us as a very young school. We have not even completed 2 years. But we have those engagements happening with the corporate to do design thinking and design thinking with technology. So I think we'll join hands. We're not joining hands, we are open. Yeah.
I think I need collaboration. At least we just started. We only the first year, 2018 only we started. But it is very much required, because at par you have to agile with the industry, and vice versa. Industry also should respond with the institutes like us, because there are a lot of new ideas. You will get a lot of new fresh ideas from students. So, and there is always the possibilities, to do a classroom project, or we come to the industry and do some kind of a collaborative project. And that is very much, it should be hands-on. And I think that's where we will understand also what is the required in the industry, what is the foresight we are able to see in the further future, and if government also can support us, that's the best. Some policy should be built on, which is not there right now.
No, I think they both have summed it up fairly well. But then, just to reiterate the fact that we have the workforce of tomorrow at our hands. They are going to be the creators. What Indian industries just need to wake up to is the fact that this is done in the West multiple times. That live proof of concepts or live research is actually done in collaboration with leading institutions. And that is something that we need to take that step from the industry side, that give us and work with us on live research areas, not hypothetical potential areas that are given as say classroom projects to explore. Make that exploration real, because the workforce that we have at our hands, they are itching to create impact, and they are the uptakers of these newer forms of technology, learning, everything that's kind of coming up. So therefore, it only makes sense for us to be able to give that push and make things happen in reality.
As Steve Jobs rightly says, creativity is all about connecting dots. He's always mentioned about it. So that's why I always used to say creativity should be managed between the data and the technology. But the problem with us is we always have a less amount of innovations. Why? Because we don't imagine much. Our education system is such a way that we are restricted to think only inside the box, not the outside the box. Unless we enhance our imaginations, we cannot come with innovation. Unlike East as West, when we compare with our technology, West is always one par ahead with everybody else. But we always lack in innovation because, in my belief, in my concept, we lack imagination, and by chance with the AR and the VR technology, we can enhance our imagination. As Albert Einstein rightly said, logic takes to A to Z, it's only the imagination take from A to anywhere else. So I call it as the marriage between imagination and innovation is called Imaginovation. So as far as our client is concerned, our panel member is concerned, they have shared about the macro level and micro level questions. Now we'll take a couple of questions from the audience directly to the panel member. Whoever is interested, you can raise your hands. The mic will be followed and you can ask the questions.
Hi, thanks for that. Fantastic. I was wondering if any of you have yet to try platforms like Rumi or Engage that allow multiple people to be educated at once. They both do kind of free versions of their software. They work across platforms. One person will be on a tablet, one person will be in a headset, one person will be on a PC. And we're finding that schools are really excited by these kind of platforms for getting multiple people interacting with each other.
We haven't done that. I think we spoke about it yesterday, but we have an online learning school, and I think that's where I will probably take it, because those courses can be actually taught online with the software that you mentioned. So I'm sure we'll take it ahead. As of now,
I think we're all still, trying the traditional platforms of Unity. I think that's one of the most widely used platforms in India, if I may say, but yes, considering we are a creative school, it only makes sense to go up to that next level to be able to not only impact but also actually collaborate on creating the solutions that you are creating in classrooms. That is the solution that you're talking about, right? Yes. And you can link up with institutions. Yes. Absolutely.
But when we
we'll definitely take that feedback.
please. When we consider higher education, in our institute like BSIT in Shumaga, so we are very fortunate enough to implement this VR for the subject for the first time in higher education. I'm talking. So when we implemented in 2016 for the subject retail management and for consumer behavior. Now when we talk about the consumer behavior, the decision process is all about intangible. How do I make sure that your perception towards one product is going to change? To enhance experience, I think we have implemented VR for that one, which ran for 3 months, for 3 years, and very happy to say that for the initiation what we have taken, so I got on Lipka Book Award report in 2019. Second question? Yeah, please.
Hi, it was awesome discussion. My question is, are you guys facing any issue with the hardware? So what we are doing under that, because everybody is talking about education, pushing, generation to the next level. So how we are going to mitigate that? Are we having any platform to discuss that?
Yeah, definitely we are facing hardware issues and all, because again it is connected with the money, and the money comes from management. So we have
I see.
So if I can answer that question for you, it's a catch-22. It's a chicken and egg situation, right? So we can't really wait for HMDs or other workstations to get affordable and then say, okay, now we are ready to roll out content. We have to work both ways. So if we can show impact by AR or VR or XR in general, people will get to it, even if it's a little expensive. And when more people get to it, it's like stock exchange, bar stock exchange place. The more people get to it, it will get cheaper. So I think somewhere, yes, we should have, if Eddie can initiate that, have a conversation, or we can have it at my school, as how do we balance this chicken and egg? We can't wait for the equipment to get affordable. We have to work so that people see value on it and start buying or doing it. Now, if Audi is also probably doing it in other countries as well, it's not only in the countries that it is manufacturing, which means they see some impact. They see some business value in that. If we work towards that, I think we'll come to a place where people will buy. It's like the iPhone. People will buy it, and not that iPhone ever has become cheaper, but people will buy it and it will reduce its cost.
Just to add to what she said, at our own institutional level, like I talked about ISIM, the whole purpose of creating a platform like that was to be able to have shared resources. We are in any case moving towards shared economies in different parts of the world. The idea was to be able to create a common ecosystem for independent creators to be able to come collaborate, not at only the infrastructural level, which might become difficult for everybody to have lots of it. Therefore, I think one of the first steps that we could possibly take at is that educational institutions coming together on a common platform, having shared resources, especially physical shared resources, which also will finally actually lend itself to a lot of intellectual collaboration, which is going to happen across industry, across different institutions and different minds coming together, and different countries, to be honest.
And even that's one of the expectations from the industry also. Like when you consider a Samsung Oculus or HTC Vive, it's cost more than 30 or 40K. But for a management institute, for any kind of an institute to implement those kind of a strategy to be very hard. So maybe if it can come down to the price level, maybe we can use it with a Google Cardboard or maybe a VR box, what we are trying to use over there. But with much technology, much enthusiastic technology ways, I think HTC Vive and Samsung Oculus makes a lot of difference for the way we see the content. Yeah. Third question. Yes, sir.
I just want to add on see, industry, if they want to grow and they want to do more work, they need designers. And for designers, you have to come to the students and you have to come to the institute. So if you support institute as a collaboration way, you will get benefit. The ROI is here is student itself, right?
Hi, thank you first of all for wonderful insights from you as well and from the team. My question, I'll just give you a quick background. We are into
Maybe somebody has taken any initiative from the management side or from the student side or from the faculty side.
It was, it's a real issue. It's a real challenge, I would say. But yeah, I was just pushing really hard, and not hardly hard. I get it, acquired it. So, and it was within a very short time. Actually, whole thing I formulated the curriculum, I formulated the abstract, and within 3 months. I was also teaching in NID before. But I was actually, something was triggered in my mind. Earlier it was, talk as a very gimmicks. Even games which you see in VR, it's just like same thing what you are using with the Xbox or PC, the same trigger you are using as a trigger for HTC Vive or whatever. But nothing beyond. It just replicate the same thing. But I find that anything into the AR, VR or even voice recognition or image recognition, it has a multiple choices and it has multiple depth to it, so that we can explore. And I must say that it's a big challenge, because not in education but as well as we need to have even if I'm talking about branding for rural sector and all, but there must be some kind of ecosystem where the enterprises will ready to spend money. Without the money, nothing can happen that much. So whether it can be a government sector or it can be a corporate sector, they can think about it as CSR also. Why not? So we have to build up some kind of a platform again where a kind of a money can be spent on this kind of experimental issues.
In fact, to just add to him, at our institutional level, this was exactly what we were all grappling with. We understood the fact that there is this technology and this computing platform which is coming up, and we were trying to integrate it at different levels of our own curriculum, mixing it with the pure design that we teach at our institution, that's Indian School of Design and Innovation. But last year, in fact, we went ahead and took that step, as he rightly mentioned, that we feel that there is an ecosystem which is required and somebody needs to take the lead. So we instituted India's first center of excellence called Indian Centre for Immersive Media in 2017. We want to take baby steps to make it grow. We have dedicated a space of about 10,000 square feet which we have dedicated to creating this as a platform, but more than the physical infrastructure that we are trying to kind of fill it up with, just to be able to give access to Indian innovators. The only I think key that was very, very important for us was to be able to create this one platform which can give Indian creators the support that they need to be able to develop high quality, high impact Indian IPs that we could take to the world stage. And that's how ISIN was conceptualized and conceived, and it was launched with Media and Arts Festival that happened where we got lots of international collaborators who came on, and it's that little thing that you realize that even on a short stint of 3 to 4 days, the kind of products that came in, the kind of awareness, the kind of uptake that this technology had, and the access to collaboration that we could provide with that platform. It's not just physical infrastructure, it was also intellectual infrastructure that places or platforms like this also intend to do. That is what I think is key. We have launched it. We are in fact very, very happy to collaborate with Indian collaborators, Indian creators, innovators who are working in this space, because most of the times you see that there are lots of small lone innovators who are trying to work on certain products, but again, going back to access and access to the hardware and software and the price points of it basically, we see that they don't see the light of it. So therefore, that is one very key thing that we wanted, that we want to give you this space, we want to give you the support of collaborating with your fellow members of the community to join hands and to create a product collaboratively. And the other thing that we are also trying to focus on with ISIM is that technology has always in India have always seen a gender gap, and therefore we are trying to institute a program for women in technology, trying to give them the platform to come out there and learn more and impart. So, yeah.
Ma'am, like when you consider UNESCO is appreciating mobile learning, especially for developing countries. I would not say third world, developing countries. In our help of mobile learning, as you are initiated in your own institute. So, don't you think can you implement VR with the mobile learning through a design thinking concept?
Of course we can do that, but let me answer your first question in addition. Well, I'm sitting here very proud of my institute and my university. We are very technologically forward. We have the programs that are technology forward. We have a lab, which is an XR, we have an IoT lab, we have a maker lab in our own school, besides which the university is actually now setting up an additive lab, which is 3D printing. So it's not limited to printing what we see as materials, but pharmacology, and to facilitate all our other schools come together and use technology. So NMIMS has always been on the forefront, and today when I stand here, I feel really proud of that. All our classes are equipped with what we call as intelligent boards, which are actually all-in-one. Production or implementation of the content is done by the company. So these both ways are working. But if you're rightly pointing out, we have to really capture the market content is concerned. Schools such as us and three of us, we have to probably build shorter programs to reskill or upskill, and that could be possible.
We do have projects. Okay, so we have an internship also. Our students can go to your company and work there. So we have a mentorship like that, and you can also come to us and do a classroom project. So we are open to it. Definitely. Sure.
Yeah, so we can probably talk about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One last question. One gentleman has it. We'll wind up with last question.
Hi, this is Joe here. I just want to know one thing. Is there a negative impact of AR and VR? There was a time when televisions were there and the term couch potato came in, and then mobiles have come in. Children are totally into the mobile. So now with AR and VR, will we remove the future generation away from physical contact?
Actually, I mentioned that a little bit when I was talking and said the negative aspects of social interaction and learning from social interaction is almost down to zero. Well, that might really work, but the constraints, and when you work with user centricity and in design, that's the constraint that maybe schools can research on and see how do we use this technology, but at least cut off 50% of the negative connotations that come with it. But as of now, I don't know, we don't even have it.
But when we understand this VR, let me give simple examples. We had a mobile phone without screen protector previously. We had a computer without screen protector guard. Now what's happening is people have been immersed in the computer and the mobile phone such that they're getting affected with the health. So with the immersive lens, whatever we have it in VR, if you can come with any personalized or maybe in psychiatric way of lens which can accommodate the eye vision in a very standard way, I think that will be the first major breakthrough for any kind of a person who can enhance their VR. So that's what we're trying to find out also. And the second question, what you told, we are disintegrating with the common world. As I say, anxiety level is increasing. As the communication is between two people is coming very, very close, the anxiety level is decreasing. Anxiety level is increasing. But with the VR, I guess in the next course of meeting, we can share the thoughts. With the VR, we can reduce the anxiety level, which we have implemented in our college also. So more or less, as Madam rightly says, every technology has a good and every technology has a bad. Take the good thing, learn from the bad thing. So to end up this note, I give food for thought one, how this VR works. VR is not about 2018 or 18th century. Go back to your mythological story. Go back to your age of 3 or 4. एक ज़माना था सब लोग हम लोग ईश्वर ब्रह्मा विष्णु महेश्वर का मूवी देख रहे थे. Everybody has watched it. वो वहाँ पे थे और यहाँ पे भी थे. They were watching what is happening on earth, sitting over there. Can you imagine how? This is for your analysis. If you can find answer, then I think our fruitful effort of having this ER VR will come to a fantastic one.
I think Sanjay did it for Dhritarashtra in Mahabharata. I mean, there might be something.
There might be some invisible VR. There might be some invisible VR which they are share their knowledge. Thank you very much, Aryan, for your patience.
When you don't forget the bioscope. I mean, this is all mythological, but the bioscope was something even I have seen, which you looked inside and had done.
That was very immersive.
Yeah, that's immersive. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie.